Yeah, man, I really appreciate it. I mean, I feel like, we've got some actionability. We have some other things. I'm just curious, just before we know, I want to respect your time too. I know we haven't really talked a lot about SendLane. I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about it or what you want to get into, but I am very interested in what you are doing there because I think that it's a way to help people be more successful and be less stressed out with what they're doing, which will allow folks to focus on I'll say this. I think most people struggle because they define success the wrong way. They ask the wrong questions or they value the wrong metrics. And often that happens because they don't have the bandwidth to think about what's actually important because what you said, there's all of these integrations, all of these stacks, all this data, and so much of it doesn't matter.
Correct. Yeah.
And I love the idea that you've kind of taken to this, this thing that has been standing sort of stagnant for a while and applying it to that because the upside is so massive. And
absolutely.
I mean, I've seen a bit more about it. I'm kind of talking inside baseball here a little bit, but like, if you don't mind just sharing a little bit on that, this isn't necessarily commercial, but just like, hey, look, there's a reason why we're talking. You got my attention and I don't even care about email. And I'm room full of alpha dudes where I was surrounded by people that just want a question. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. So like, I just love your approach.
Yeah, dude, look, I'm a former merchant, a marketer, a lover, email marketer, and I created something that I believe is to fix a big problem in the world, which is the tech stack, right? And I don't believe you need to sacrifice on your email or SMS. I don't believe you need to sacrifice any of the tool setting, but I do know that what you need can be put together in one place, right? So SendLane today is an email marketing automation tool today where a typical client comes from Klaviyo and Attentive or Klaviyo and PostScript, and they unify their stack. They get better data, better service, they save money, they got a better tool, and ultimately, right? Ultimately, they're here for the vision. And the vision is all about the future, right? Reviews, customer support, what's that called again? Loyalty, attribution, insights, subscriptions. Like we think about all of it. I think that all these little things that we have to buy, I mean, I hate saying this, but like, shouldn't feel as a merchant, I've got to buy one little micro tool to just get my shipping notifications going. One micro tool for my transactional messages here. One little tool for we want to bring it all under one roof so that you have all the power. And the real reason why the power is important is not because like, we want to own the stack and all that stuff. It's really because it allows you as a marketer to do better things. Like our reviews product coming out in about 45 days, whenever you're listening to this, like one, it's free. That's crazy. Two, it does more because you can't do it anywhere else. Like dynamic abandoned cart reviews, dynamic abandoned carts based around customer segments, like thinking more with the tools because we're bringing it together, right? The things that you need to do most. And so the vision is very simple. It's unification, one stack, be able to do everything. But the biggest thing I believe that I'm different in the world is that I also think of like the merchant. We don't price ourselves like the historical guys. We started changing the way that we think about pricing. Usage-based. You pay for you use. The three things you use on my product: email, SMS, and data, right?
Got it.
Well, the data is whatever, right? So really, doesn't matter what any of our future products are. As long as you're using email and SMS, we're making money. You're having a successful tool, and everybody's happy that way. Because SaaS subscription, enterprise SaaS subscription, $60,000 a year contracts with locked terms. Like you got to give people flexibility. You got to let people go up and down. Look, we have contracts, commitments, I call them, but they're not like contracts. They're commitments. If you yell at me, I'm going to let you out 100% of the time. I'm not like that, man. I just want a commitment to say, hey, you're going to do this for a year, and I'm going to give you a yearly price instead of a monthly price. Yeah. Fair ask. That's all I
think so too. And I run the same thing. I think the best customer service in the world is, oh, you're not happy? Here's your money back. Thank you for letting me know what you weren't satisfied
100%.
with.
100%.
Like, if you need to be more aggressive than that, there's probably something wrong in your service to begin with.
One of my favorite books is a book called Delivering Happiness by the late Tony Hsieh, right? He talks about customer service, the Zappos story. It's one of my favorite books because I relate to that, because I believe that, look, I don't believe the customer is always right, but I believe that
I agree with that 100%.
It's our job to make the customer feel right. Yeah. If that makes sense. It's our job to make them feel satisfied and an outcome, right? Just because it didn't work out today doesn't mean they can't be a customer in a year from now. Don't burn the bridge. Yeah. Be good. Keep being to the, it'll be all right.
I had a guy join Disruptor School 2 days ago that signed up for a webinar 2 years ago and is literally like one of the first 100 tags in my thing. Like I sort of like, where's this guy? And he's literally on page 1 of my tags. And
It took 2 years.
It's funny. He joined and he's like, attribution's nonsense, bro. No 7-day click's going to get this. I've just been seeing you forever. And it was like 17 other people he knew joined. And he finally was like, oh yeah. And I recognized his like profile picture because it was like in a Facebook group of mine like 5 years ago.
But
and
isn't that
like,
amazing though?
that's a beautiful thing. Yeah. And if you burn the bridges just trying to move forward, you're never going to care. You're never going to reach those people. You're never going to care about them. And I think,
so yeah, I went off on a
yeah.
tangent there, but yeah, dude, that customer service is a huge component of SendLane. So like we talk about that. So there's a lot of things that we're great at, but the real big thing is that we are, and I always say like we're the marketers. The team I have under me is not just people in software. They're former agency owners, former founders, former e-commerce people, and that's why we believe we're doing better in the market right now. And that's why I also believe I relate to the market because I actually understand the pain. And the pain we're solving is the core pain, not email, not SMS, but the stack. I want to eliminate the retention stack. I want to make that one stack for the world. And if that happens, God, everyone will just have a better night's sleep. And that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, no, I love it. You know, I was going to say this is that I think over the last 5 years, we have seen a tremendous boom in experts making tools to solve very specific problems. And I think that that's great. Being a specialist is important. We need the brain surgeons in the world. We need the, world-class cardiologists. The problem is
not everyone does.
Yeah, as real founders and as business operators, you're like, oh, well, I want the best of everything if you can afford it. And you end up just building up all of this waste in time and in contracts and money and complication with like, you end up making this Rube Goldberg device when you needed like 3 things.
You know what I always say, man? I say that everyone looks up to like Walmart and Target and Amazon and go, I need to do what they're doing. No, you really don't. It's not going to move the needle the same way.
Like they already beat you. You can't.
They're optimizing. They're at the level where they've got their shit figured out and they're just optimizing. That's why they're doing some of the stuff they're doing. I get it. You, Joe Schmo, want to do this as well. And I'm not being rude to people, but like, do you really need to do it? Or is it because you think that because they're doing it? And that's 100% like how the market learns. It's pretty interesting. Like the enterprise learns, teaches down and comes down the line. But like a lot of that doesn't always translate. It doesn't translate always black and white. And that's what I say, like it doesn't. And like, yeah, you're right. If you want a specialized tool, there's still plenty of specialized tools in the market, and that's what you should go for. But my mission is my everyday common Joe marketer, the 80% in the marketer world is probably going to be just fine with my tool.
Yeah.
And could you be leaving money? Probably, maybe, but I don't know because you would have had to spend extra money on a specialized person to actually use the tool that you paid a lot of money for, that you might get a little bit more results.
Yeah, and if you had something simple that just worked in a way that you could rely on, in like the world of the scientific method, if email becomes a constant, you can work on the variable, right?
100%. That's
like,
what I'm saying.
I just see so many people worrying about all the little things. It's funny, my assistant was telling me this, and she was saying, her name is Jasmine, she's amazing. And she was saying that, there's a lot of people I know that are penny pinchers.
Yep.
And it's not to say anything negative or positive. It's just the people that worry about every little penny often have far fewer pennies as a result of that behavior. And I thought that was like just really interesting to hear because I see in this case, like we're talking about, so many people are so worried about getting every little incremental edge that they don't realize like if I could just do one thing well. Yeah. Like I see it in the Facebook ad side. So many folks are like, well, I'm working and I need to do more testing so I can keep moving. And my point to them is like, if you could spend 10% more to acquire that customer, you're making a profit. Why not just spend more? Like so many times the easiest optimization somebody can be making is literally not touching anything and letting the machine get smarter and throwing a few and amplifying the volume.
Yeah. I always say double down on the things that are working. Stop trying to add more things that aren't working to your stack, right? Like that's really the same way of thinking about it. Like, ads working. Why are you optimizing, testing it? Just double down, put more budget on it.
Yeah, like why are you doing creative testing? Why are you doing landing pages? Why are you doing all this stuff? I'm like, well, you're supposed to, but you have a 30% profit margin and your problem is you can't scale. Just spend more money. That would literally solve the problem. And then it's like, well, we have all the meetings about meetings and all the stuff. I've been in those corporate environments of like startups. They go from 7 people to 50 and they die because they're not able to be nimble. And I think ultimately, if I was to say my impression of it, just as an outside person, of how you're trying to solve this problem, why I love it so much is that it makes it, number one, simple enough for the average person to get better than they are instead of using all the bells and whistles. I don't need I don't need a Gallardo to go grocery shopping.
No.
You know what I mean? And so I think that that's amazing. And two, I think the fact that you can, if I can make my business work with a tool that is that simple, then I can get better at using that simple tool and get better at what happens because of that tool. Yeah. And the biggest moat any business can make is in the ops of the business. My friend Laura Lynn from Warby Parker taught me that so much, is that the difference between you and the company next door that does the exact same thing, who's going to win is whoever runs a better business.
Correct.
And the simpler it is for me to get to a consistent, reliable answer, the faster and more confident my ability is to solve the problems will be. Yep. And you basically have taken several things that all used to be one, then became 47 different things, bringing them back down to the one. It's just like I get it. It is, you're not going to every single store for every single merchant thing on all this stuff, but we're getting it done. Yep. I don't need 17 specialized tools to get one job taken care of.
You got it. And you don't need specialized people to do your tools either. That's the second thing. God, the whole thing about having to hire special people, right? Like Salesforce people just to run your stack, right? Geez, how did that happen, man? Why couldn't we just simplify? We're smart humans here. Why did we let this happen?
Yeah. And so anyway, I love it. I want to value your time too. I don't want to take you forever, but just I dig what you're doing, man. And I really appreciate it. And I think also, for just what it's worth, there are some folks in here that I think you have a good head on your shoulders about what you're trying to do and where you're coming from. And I like to see that, because sadly we exist in a space where there are so many used car salesmen that do the rain dance 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
That are willing to sell you a jalopy and take credit for when it starts to rain.
Yep.
That you could literally just be a human being with content of character, and you're going to actually create enough of a market for yourself that you don't need to do more and create good. And so that's my impression, for whatever it's worth, of what you're doing, because
that's exactly what I like to do, because that's who I like to work with. That's who I am. And there's so many people in business and world to build together. You don't have to own it all. You just need to be good at the place you want and be related to the people you want to relate to. And that is what builds a good business. Because look, dude, life's short, man. We only do so much. At least get to enjoy it, right?
100%.
I don't want to sit here and be a corporate hard hammer guy. That's not us. I'm not that good. In fact, I will tell a customer who's a jerk to me that we're not going to service them. And we fire people all the time, and not all the time. I take it back. But we fire people in the past, right?
Yeah. When you need to, you have the
and it's not even we haven't even gotten to the first date often when this happens. There's just the first meeting. You're like, you just know this guy's just going to, guy or girl is just going to be a pain in our butt. And we basically tell the customer, we don't have time for pain in the butts here today. We've got a lot of great customers to service and great human beings. And that's who you should be if you want to work here. So even in our company culture is to be kind to each other, because we have no time in our lives to be mean. And that translates to the company too. And so to your point, I'm here to meet with the authentic, to meet with the people. And I believe that there's enough of a market in the people that I don't have to worry about the rest of it. And that will come naturally.
I think you're right, man. And it shows, or at least that was my unfettered opinion from the outside. And it seems like that's lining up with what you were trying to do. And that's amazing. So I'll end with this, man. I don't want to get the last word in. So why don't if there's anything that you want to say, anything that you want to tell people about, any place you want people to find you, websites, whatever the things you want to shill, let people know about it. So that
very simple. Look, things. You can find me on 2 places in the world, Twitter and LinkedIn. Twitter, it's Yo Jimmy Kim. So YOJIMMYKIM. Apparently Jimmy Kim was taken and he won't let it go. So, from 1998 or something. My Twitter's old too. In fact, it's funny. And then the second one is on LinkedIn. So you can look me up, Jimmy Kim, on LinkedIn. I post there a little bit different content. I post more on Twitter, but LinkedIn has more strategic, impactful stuff and memes over there. So you can come check it out. So those are my two channels. You can find me, or I don't know, you can find, I'm everywhere ultimately. So wherever you see me, I am hyper responsive. That's the big thing about me. I like to say is that I know how important it is to get a response because I've been on the other end, and I will respond to you regardless of who you are. As long as you're not just hard hitting pitching me, I will ignore you for that one. So
yeah. Yeah.
So,
how is your industry? Oh,
yes.
God.
How is your industry? Or hello, I like that you are quote, and then they put like your profile stuff, and you're like, no. Approach me like a human. I'll tell you no, at least. I won't waste your time.
Yeah. Oh man, the LinkedIn cold DM game is obscene.
Yeah, there's a playbook out there. I'm sure that's probably what someone's following. So
Oh, yeah,
it's always playbook. Someone made a playbook, and
Yeah.
that's what we follow. And again, another one that hasn't evolved. The old sales playbook needs to evolve. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I tell my internal team. Like, we don't talk about our competitors in a negative way, no matter how negative they are, because that's not our job. Our job is to tell them how great our product is and what we can do to benefit them, right? Like, that's how a demo should go, in my opinion. And that's something that we also honor within the company too.
I love it, man. Well, thank you very much, dude. I'm gonna let you go. It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you sooner than later about many different types of things. And yeah, dude, I just really appreciate it. It's nice to meet good people in the space that are doing good things, and I hope other folks get to learn something from this, because I had fun. At the end of the day, I had a good time. And I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, me too, man. Thanks for reaching out and inviting me to this, man. Hopefully we'll do it again. And dude, I'll see you at the next industry thing, I'm sure. So
I'm sure I'm gonna be. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I gotta.
I'm sure
time to do these things.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see each other soon. So GeekX probably, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think so. That's probably
so. In a month, I'll see you then.
I'll see you then.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
See you.
All right.
Bye.
See you, buddy.